I'm in Dayton, Ohio this week with my older son's high school drumline, and I took advantage to visit the Carillon Historical Park. Local businessman Colonel Andrew Deeds saw carillons, which are towers with multiple bells that play a tune, in Paris, and he wanted to build one of his own here in Dayton. The Deeds Carillon first opened in 1940. It's a little tough to make out, but that says Colonel Edward Andrew Deeds, March 12th, 1874. So the Carillon itself is something that they built because it was neat. They wanted to make a unique monument to Dayton. I'll talk about the history of the Dayton luminaries behind the Carillon a little bit later. But one of the most interesting things I found when I was looking this place up is that the campus, or this park, and it's kind of hard to see, all of the landscaping around it was done by, and right on cue, the wind is back. I don't know if you're hearing it in the microphone. I'm using my earbud today because I was not expecting to have good enough weather to come out and film while I was in town. It's been cold, rainy, and miserable for the last 3 days. But today it looks like this. So I thought I'd give it a shot. One of my favorite stories about the Carillon Park here is that, well, the Carillon was designed by Colonel Deeds in, shall we say, homage to carillons that he had seen in France. The park grounds themselves were designed by another famous name that's not normally associated with Dayton, the Olmsted brothers. And if you haven't heard of the Olmsteds, they designed Central Park in New York. And a fun fact about Central Park, the entire landscape there is artificial. People probably see it, I know I did, and figure, all right, they built the city around that space but left it undeveloped. Nope. Every boulder, every hill, every tree, every feature of that landscape was designed. That's not what was there when European settlers arrived. And the same with this area, which apparently was, needed to be remade after a flood that wiped out a lot of downtown Dayton. And this is what they did. Deeds knew the Olmsteds personally. He also knew Charles Kettering. That's a name you should look up if you don't know it. And this was the era of the robber barons. I don't know if Kettering counts as a robber baron, but certainly his name is on a lot of things, especially around here. After the Great 1913 flood decimated the Dayton region, Deeds organized the Miami Conservancy District to construct a series of dams to control flooding on the Miami River, which flows through downtown Dayton. Colonel Deeds also co-founded the Dayton Engineering Laboratory Corporation, which we know today as Delco. Alright, the wind died down for a moment, so I decided to take the opportunity to read this out loud because I really like it. It was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent, and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong, and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. The wrong shall fall, the the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. You might or might not be able to hear it in the background, but there's a lot of drumming coming from the University of Dayton Arena across the river. And that is the annual WGI World Championships. Since that tells you nothing about what WGI means, it's drumline. Something I've found myself involved with over the past few years. If you have teenagers, you know all about finding yourself involved with things that you never even heard of before. But anyway, enough of that. You watch these videos to see coffee. So let's find a spot and try to make some coffee. I thought maybe the end of this path that I'm walking looked like a good one. What, did we run out of budget here? See what I said about the wind? I think what we're going to do now is just load up the filter with coffee grounds. Find the funnel. And we'll take one more try. While we're waiting for that, there's a lot to see and do in Dayton, including the National Museum of the United States Air Force, which I was just at a little while ago. That was a pretty quick stop on this trip I'm on, and kind of unfortunate because I could spend 2 or 3 full days there easily. It's kind of like going to something like the USS Midway Museum. Just I could plan the entire trip just for that, and maybe someday I will. Little glowing thing there is the piezo igniter. One little flaw with this backpacking stove is that thing gets red hot, which sometimes stops it from working until it cools down. Water's not boiling quite yet, but it's nice and hot, so we're going to go ahead and make us some coffee. Can't possibly be cool to your teenager, but you can model good behavior, like packing out your trash. Well, this explains something. I was telling some of my associates earlier that I was going to come over to the Carillon and shoot some video, and they started talking about going out for a beer, and I was like, what are you talking about? The Carillon is a thing with bells. Nope. Apparently it's also a brewery. Beer was a drink enjoyed by virtually everyone in the 1800s. All right. Glad they told me that. I might not have known what it is. Thanks for watching. If you're passing through the Dayton area, I highly recommend a visit to the Carillon Historical Park. Stay tuned for the blooper reel. Speaking of bells, the Colonel Deeds that was mentioned on the bell that I showed you earlier. Well, I caught a little bit of the bells there for you. Water's getting there though. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to end up doing a lot of voiceover on this one.